Hi there, everyone. My name's Aidan Foreman, and I'm the Director of Technology at the RNIB. So I'm just going to move on. So the RNIB is the Royal National Institute for Blind People, and it's the UK's leading sight loss charity. More than 2 million people live in the UK with sight loss, and every day another 250 people start to lose their sight, which is the equivalent to one every 6 minutes. The number of people in the UK with sight loss is growing significantly, and we estimate by 2050, this number will have more than doubled to 4 million if the UK's current trends continue. And as an organisation, our main purpose is to build the perfect country in the UK for everybody with sight loss. And our vision is a world where blind and partially sighted people can participate equitably. So as part of our service offering that we offer as the RNIB to our customers in the UK, we have a sight loss advice service, which is there to support blind and partially sighted people, as well as their friends and their families and their carers, to help them navigate through their sight loss journey effectively. So from the minute they're diagnosed, which you can imagine is quite a emotional event and quite tricky in someone's life, all the way through to thriving and being able to participate equally in society. So RNIB are really lucky that we've got a whole wealth of really great trained professionals that are manning our services. And in order to do that, we have a knowledge base which is full of content. It's got around 1,150 articles, which we have to keep updated constantly in order to provide that brilliant service. And at the moment, or previously, this was on a system internally called What's What. And this was just a standard knowledge base that we used to use. So from that particular point in time, we were now starting to move over and were being powered by Wagtail for our public-facing website when ChatGPT was launched, and we identified really quickly that there was an opportunity potentially to look at an AI-powered interface for people to be able to type the question and get the answer that they wanted based on the kind of Q&A content, but rather than having to kind of browse through that content, being able to use the AI to maybe surface a better experience for our customers. We worked with Torchbox's innovation team to create a proof of concept, which we then wanted to roll out to our helpline advisors, which we've got some feedback around in a second, which we can share, which is really important. So just referencing kind of Brady's conversation around the legal and compliance element, we were really keen to use this internally for a start before we went out offering any advice to our customers directly. As you can imagine, there'd be lots of problems if the AI was to produce any kind of materials or answers that maybe not giving the right advice, especially if somebody was coming to RNIB in an emotional state. So what we did was we put this out as a proof of concept internally. So whenever anybody rang our helpline, they may have asked a question. We were then able to surface the answer for our helpline advisors to be able to give the best piece of advice that they could. And we got some really great pieces of feedback. So I'm not going to cover them all, but for example, this one talks about that it worked really well and it was much easier to use than their existing search. And this one talks about asking some really tricky questions and it was able to answer it in a really nice, good and tactful way, and in a really friendly manner too. And then there was a little, bit of constructive feedback around the fact that it didn't always know all of the acronyms, and within the sight loss sector, there are a number of acronyms, and we'll come on to that particular piece in a second. So just to contextualize this for everybody on the webinar, I'm going to provide a little demo here. So I'm going to jump into our What's What platform. Now, just to be completely transparent, we've got a question here, which is what help is available for blind veterans? And now this I know is an article that's within our knowledge base already. And of course, that comes out at the top, but it also gives you a whole heap of other stuff, which for the end user who's effectively providing that service to the customer, that can provide a very difficult experience when you're live and pressurized in that particular environment. And if I just throw another question in the mix, which is a little bit more difficult for it to answer in terms of what resources are available to help one person get back into work, and I ask that question, we'll see that there's a myriad of results across all sorts of different articles, which actually is really difficult for people to navigate and work around. So if we then go across into the Chat RNIB tool, and I'm just going to log in to that now, we're provided with a completely different interface, which is really clean, really slick, also has a lot of accessibility features built into it, which again is all powered by Wagtail. we were able to switch color modes, and we're able to do all sorts of great accessibility features, which for our user base is really important. And if I dive in with asking exactly the same questions that I asked previously, and I ask what help is available for blind veterans, what this does is it goes off and checks all of those great knowledge bases, and it provides an answer in which it surfaces all the information it finds relevant and brings that together in one place. That thus allowing us to be offering really world-class service really quickly. And we can then go to our sources and link back into any of the information we need. Now, that was the more easy question. However, if we go back to the question, which the what really struggled with, this is where the true power of the AI really comes in. So if I ask the question around how do we help a blind person get back into work, it uses all the knowledge that it has across all of those different articles and surfaces a really coherent answer with all of the great materials that we've got available to us within RNIB. And again, providing the different sources. So if I just dip into one of these sources, this is all stored in the back end in Wagtail, and it shows us all of the material that we've got available to us if we wanted to delve more into the information available to us. So that's a quick demo of the solution. I'm now going to pass over to Dave, who's going to talk to you about some of the behind the scenes parts that make this up.
Great, thank you, Aidan. So I'm going to share the back end, Aidan having shown you the front end user experience. I'm going to talk you through how we set up the Wagtail site to help answer those questions about sight loss. And there are two key themes that I'd like to pull out for this. One is the transparency of the system and kind of what's going on inside it, and also how we can keep on improving it and teaching it new stuff. So firstly, we wanted to make as much of the kind of the inner workings of the system open and visible to RNIB editors and administrators as possible. And I can show two of those from this main page. Now I'm logged into Wagtail. I can edit this main page, and from here, as an admin, I can choose my AI model that's being used. That's the first thing. So we can, at the moment, I can easily switch between GPT-3 Turbo or GPT-4, or we could add more models here, including other non-OpenAI models in future. And secondly, is something that's come up a few times so far on the webinar, and this is around the prompt. So the prompt that we're sending to OpenAI, and something that came up in our user testing was that the prompt might need to change, and we might want to experiment with different versions of it, tell it to answer questions in slightly different ways or with slightly different tone of voice. So rather than having that prompt managed in code, we've made it into a snippet, which means that RNIB Wagtail editors can easily kind of change and iterate on this. So I'll just show you quickly what our current default is. And this is our default prompt. It's very long. I'm not expecting you to read it all, but there's a lot in here around like how we want it to answer, what sources we want it to use, what we want it to say if it doesn't know the answer, or if the question that's being asked is a bit irrelevant. Because we found that early versions, you could ask it questions like, who's the current president of the United States, and it would tell you the answer. So obviously we wanted to kind of to limit what it would do. As a quick demo of something, obviously at the moment it's an internal facing tool. Thinking of a potential future where this could be an external facing tool. Like what might happen if we were asked, if someone was asking it a question and it didn't know the answer. So you might remember there are a few acronyms that Aidan shared. I'm going to ask it, what does FFA mean? At the moment, it doesn't know the answer to that question. And which is, this version is kind of fine while it's an internal facing tool, but you think, oh, maybe when this is an external facing tool, actually it'd be quite nice if we just could say something else when it didn't know the answer. So I'm just going to show you quickly how easy you can just, it's basically choosing another snippet. So here is one I prepared earlier. If I edit this one, I'll show you the only difference here being that I've said, if you don't know the answer, then please just say, please try a different question, or you can call the RNIB helpline. And that would be a nicer experience for someone if they were a member of the public asking this a question. So I will refresh my page, having republished it with that new snippet. Ask the same question, and you can say, obviously, instantly the new snippet has led to this different behavior. So Yeah, that was a really quick demo of how you can change it, but obviously we could try different versions of the snippet to ask for a different tone of voice or a different length of answer, or other variations. So that's the first thing around kind of how we want it to be something that the RNIB team can kind of continue to improve the performance of. But the second thing is obviously teaching it something new. And one of the first things that we picked up from the testing, and I'm going to go back to that quote that Aidan mentioned earlier, people were actually asking it things that weren't even in the original source data. So we were just using the source data from that What's What platform that Aidan mentioned. We went there and asked it what FFA is. It didn't know. So then we thought, what is there anything else that we could say? What's an FFA procedure? It gets me some results, but it's kind of matched on that keyword procedure. There's nothing in there about that topic. So obviously chat RNIB, as I just demoed, also doesn't know the answer, but with a little bit of help from Google and Wikipedia, I could find that it's actually it's an acronym for a particular process that kind of a testing process that happens for people with particular eye conditions. I'm not going to try to pronounce that word, but I'm just very quickly going to copy all of this Wikipedia content and show you how we can then add this to the knowledge base. So let's go over and teach chat RNIB. I'm going to go back into the Wagtail backend where we have our chat homepage. As we drill down through the site's hierarchy, we have a questions index, and then we have all of our questions. So we've migrated all of these in from What's What, all of those questions that Aidan demonstrated. I'm just going to very quickly add a child page, and this one is going to receive all of that Wikipedia content. I will just, for now, give it that page title rather than phrasing that as a question. Publish that one. And now I'm going to go, once that's published, go back to our chat interface. Now I'm going to see if I've managed to teach it. And I can go and ask, what does FFA mean? Tell me the answer, please. And it's given me a quick summary, and it's got a link to my page. But maybe more than just what does FFA mean? I want to ask it more related questions. So what is an FFA procedure? And there's also all of these, now that we have that one piece of content in our database, it will start to tell me a bit more about it. But more than just, obviously, I don't just want to copy content from Wikipedia. I actually then had a bit of a dig around and found within RNIB's own content, there's a PDF on the public facing Wagtail website. And if I go down here and try to find, there's some content here in the PDF, which I will copy in and create another quest. So this is just another one, and this one was content written for a kind of a public facing leaflet that RNIB have. I'm just going to, maybe I'll just call this, I'll give it fluorescein angiogram. I will publish this page, and now we've got 2 questions and answers pieces of content about that kind of topic that until very recently chat RNIB didn't know anything about. Now I'm going to ask it slightly more complicated questions. So what is it like to have an FFA procedure? And now it's going to tell me what's it going to be like to me, or what might happen to me after an FFA procedure. So these are the kind of questions now that we in a couple of minutes there, we've gone from a platform that didn't have a clue what this thing was with an acronym that one of our testers had picked up, to now teaching it from some publicly available content, but also from the RNIB content, what that thing is. So you can see it's kind of it's easy to iterate on the knowledge base, to teach more information, to change that prompt, to keep making the answers more relevant. I think we've only just scratched the surface with what we can do. Obviously, we've just kind of manually migrated some stuff from one RNIB platform, and we've had a look at some of those PDFs, but there's a huge amount of content there. So we've got some next steps. We'd really like to experiment with turning this from that single kind of question answer interface into a multi-step conversation that preserves the context while someone's talking to it. And also, we're thinking about how this might enhance the regular on-site search experience by giving a natural language summary to when people use the search. And I think there are going to be really useful implementations of this kind of thing for any organizations that have a lot of kind of specific knowledge within within a Wagtail ecosystem that is available just in the web browser as normal. But this is a new way of accessing that. So really interested to see where it goes with RNIB, but also to see what others are doing with it. So I will wrap up there, and we're really happy to take any questions.